Oh, I am on. Hello, and welcome to my Hypnosis Diaries. So, each episode, I'm going to be sharing my approach with working with a client on a particular issue. I'm doing this to promote what I'm doing as a hypnotherapist, but also to promote hypnosis, which, in my opinion, is still massively misunderstood and not really used that often. So now, one of my favorite things to work on is confidence. And that is because I come from a background of performance, but also because confidence is something I have struggled with myself massively my entire life. So I feel a real affinity with working with confidence. Similarly, probably to stuff like weight loss and smoking. I think the things that you have a particular connection to are always more engaging naturally. So yeah, so confidence is always one of my favorite things to work with. And anyway, this week I've had the privilege of working with someone who works in sales. That not that that's the privilege; it's, it's the client that's the privilege. But working with a person who was working in sales in a very corporate environment, and what this person had to do was secure bidding from other companies by coming up with a creative marketing campaign, which they'd then have to pitch, and they'd have to pitch it to a room full of people at a very high level. So quite a big and important job, and they'd always done very well. They'd always performed very well at the job, but at this point, they'd become quite high up, and they were worried, and they were experiencing anxiety because it was now using a lot more public speaking and presenting than they'd had to, and that's what they were worrying about. Um, so when the client described how they felt just before they went on and did this pitch, this presentation, and they described like their sweaty hands and um, the heartbeat high up and breathing and all of those basically classic anxiety, performance anxiety, as something that most of us have experienced at some point in our lives, if not frequently. Um, and we worked together over 4 sessions over this, and we did the last one last week, just before it was deliberately set up. So they had that last session just before they had their bid, so they would go in feeling really confident. So what did we do, and how did hypnosis work? I'm so glad you asked. So this is what we did, and I'm just going to run it through from session to session, not in massive amounts of detail, but just enough to give you a sort of a flavour of what I chose to do. So in the first session, we did regression. Okay, regression is when you take someone back to an earlier time in their life. Okay, it's one of those really fascinating things in hypnosis. Actually, there's a lot of really fascinating things in hypnosis, but it's one of those really fascinating things because you've probably heard of past life regression, where and that's debate, isn't it, is whether we've had other lives. And lots of people who've had hypnosis have experienced past life regression. I've never had a client come to me for past life regression, so I've not had any personal experience of that myself. I have an interest. I don't even know how I feel about it, if I'm honest. I'm definitely open to it. I am going to have a session next week, but it will be my first actual proper past life regression that I've done. I've done regression back to the womb because that's much more conventional. So regression is something you use quite frequently in hypnosis within the confines of a life, like this life, the life that you can that you are very that you can sort of like have evidence of other people in your families, friends. So it's sort of a shared life. I think I'm making this more complicated than it is, but you know what I mean. So we use regression within the confines of a conventional life all the time, and obviously there are people that use past life regression as well. Anyway, this person was quite wasn't aware necessarily of anything that had happened in their past in relation to public speaking, but wasn't sure, wasn't certain because it did feel like a very unconscious trigger. So that's what we did for the first week. We went back and we did actually uncover some event, some quite traumatic event that happened at school. I don't want to give any particular details to it. I don't need to, but there were some sort of slightly traumatizing things that happened to that person at school, which we think was definitely part of what was creating this sort of performance anxiety. So that was the first session. And that had a massive impact on them, just experiencing that, and they hadn't been aware of the impact that that event had had. So even that in itself created a massive shift. So the second session we worked on depotentiating the impact of their past traumatic event, and we used a few approaches for doing this. So when you want to depotentiate a past life, not past, a trauma, you don't just drop the person into it. Well, you can do, but we didn't do that. So to depotentiate it, you kind of detach the person from it, and there's various ways of doing it. And we used a backwards and forwards technique where you keep running the event, where we ran the event in her mind many times backwards and forwards, and then you do it visually, then you do it, so you just concentrate on all the visual stuff, then you just concentrate on all the sound stuff, and run it backwards and forwards, and it takes away that, running it many times takes away the impact of it. And it's designed just to take the knock out of it, and then left to finish the session with doing something to make them feel good and to feel more confident. And then the third session, the client was already feeling a lot better. I think partly because they had some understanding of what had been the issues. And once you've dealt with that stuff, the past stuff, then you can then go on to the future stuff. So you basically clear away all the crappy stuff in the past that's upsetting someone, the things that's creating the triggers, and then you can start putting in place the fun stuff, the good stuff, the stuff that's going to liberate them and feel really good in the future. So that's what we did. We started, the person had to give me details. I have worked in a couple of sales, not at a high level. I worked in a couple of sales. In fact, as a stapler, I was stapling stuff one time for a sales company as an admin clerk. Another very high point of my career, illustrious career. So, but I don't have a massive, any experience in the corporate world. But so this person had to really sort of like give me the details of, I can imagine what it is, what it looks like. So they gave me all the details of the whole experience. They ran through it, and then once they've given me the details of how it's going to be in their minds, we then run it forwards and backwards, but with a positive outcome. So getting them to future pace, to imagine, to rehearse the whole thing going amazingly well. So they're relaxed. It's gone well. You see them at the end, coming home, arriving, having a drink with their partner, big smile on their face because they know they've done really well. Everyone's been engaged and looking at them, and you run the whole thing backwards and forwards until it becomes something that they then have almost like an association of positive experience with. So when they come to do it, yeah, you know what, this is great. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. So it's excitement and calm excitement rather than fear and anxiety. And then in the fourth session, I showed them stuff that would enable them to step into a confident place and energy and have the energy. And there's lots of ways of doing that, and they're all relatively straightforward, in my opinion. And the great thing is, just a few days ago, I got a lovely text from the person saying it was amazing. They got the bid. They were brilliant. They walked on. They were like really dynamic and energized and confident, and they're very happy, which means I'm very happy. So that was my confidence, which was really, really great. So yes, if there's anything you want to work with me with, then just get in touch with me. You can leave a message here, or you could go and check out my website on www.lchypnotherapy.com. It's under here in the link, and just check this out. If you have watched this, if you have made it all the way to the end, please like it, subscribe. And that's it. And so I will see you for the next episode of the Hypnosis Diaries. Now I just got to try and make the ending a little bit more slick, not me pressing the buttons trying to finish it, but let's see how this goes. Anyway, thank you very much for watching if you did watch it, and if you did watch it, please press like, subscribe, and look forward to seeing you. Bye.